the Diamondbacks, Parker, they're struggling. Corbin Burnes, man, got hurt,
Oh,
and it was
man.
the worst time for it.
Yeah, so Corbin Burnes was making a start. In case anybody missed what was going on, Corbin Burnes made a start, and let me see. It's in this article. I have it pulled up. If you haven't read the article on Fangraphs by Ben Clemens, can the Diamondbacks survive rotation troubles? It makes some really good points about the fact that the Diamondbacks had a really high expectation ceiling coming into the season, and up to this point, the pitching just kind of has not been what we had thought, hoped, and wanted it to be to this point in the season. Zach Gallen, I mean, a 4.54 FIP is not what I want to be seeing from Zach Gallen.
No.
And Brandon Pfaadt has been frankly, a dumpster fire this season so far. For a guy where the expectations on him were where they were at the beginning of the season, Brandon Pfaadt has completely kind of just fallen apart at the beginning stages of this season. And if Corbin Burnes goes down, because Corbin Burnes was pitching relatively well at a slow start, but he was nails all the way up until the injury. 4 starts leading up to the injury, he had a 31% strikeout rate, 2.19 ERA, and 2.67 FIP. He's been great, but if he's gone, you don't have production coming from anywhere else in this lineup. And that is a huge problem for a team that some people had making it to the NLCS or even to the World Series, depending on if they had a good NLCS. So, like, I just don't see a world where, like, the lineup for me in Arizona is not good enough to overcome a bad rotation. Part of the reason this team was considered so good was because they had a Zach Gallen, a Corbin Burnes, a Merrill Kelly, and then a who's who after that, including a Brandon Pfaadt, who, like I said, everybody was high on. But there's not much there if those guys aren't pitching like the guys we thought they would be at the beginning of the season.
Well, there's also the reality too of, like, it's unfortunate for the Diamondbacks. They can't afford in that division to not be firing on all cylinders. Like, it's even worse for them, right? Like, they cannot be in the NL West, and they can't just get by with an offense. You just can't. And then you look at this rotation, and here's the silver lining, I think. Like, we may have talked about this actually before the season. We were talking about starting pitchers, and like Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, like, honestly, those are two guys that could turn it on like that. They really could. They've done it in their careers. They have the stuff. They just have that oomph about them. I think they could turn it on. Give them a couple weeks, maybe we have a different story. But beyond that, though, you get beyond Gallen and Kelly, there's nothing. Like you said, there's Pfaadt, and then there's trying to fill in with a Shelby Miller, guys I've literally never heard of in my life, Parker. Like, this gets really scary for D-backs fans after that.
For sure. Do you know how many starting pitchers are on roster resource right now for the Diamondbacks? 3. 3. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt.
That is terrifying, friends.
That is horrifying. That is horrifying. I don't know, man. I truly do hope that, first of all, we don't know what the extent of the injury is for Corbin Burnes. And I hope that it's not much. I hope it's a couple starts and he's back, because the Diamondbacks frankly need it. And you know, the worst part about all of this for me is that this is really through no fault of the Diamondbacks or their ownership or their front office, because the Diamondbacks saw we have a young lineup that is ready to rock and roll. So what do? Okay, well, last year we're going to sign Eduardo Rodriguez and Jordan Montgomery. Both of them maybe reaches, but both of them, two of the better free agents in the pitching class last offseason. So it's like, okay, get what we can get. And then this offseason, they go out and they sign the guy, the pitching name on the market, depending on how you viewed Max Fried, and they brought Corbin Burnes on board. So it's like they have done everything that they felt like they needed to do. They have supplemented the bullpen, brought in a guy like Kendall Graveman. Torey Lovullo is out there managing his ass off on every given night. And unfortunately, it's like not the injury bug, man. The injury bug, like Jordan Montgomery's down. Eduardo Rodriguez is down. Corbin Burnes is down. It's Zach Allen and a 36-year-old Merrill Kelly, who those guys just haven't been putting up the numbers that we wanted them to.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge for them. They have to turn it around quickly here in June. They can't afford to wait because the NL is not going to be. It's going to be an interesting wild card in the National
It's a
League
very,
again this
very
year.
talented NL.
Very talented NL, and right now they're hanging on to fourth place in the NL West at 6.5 games behind the Dodgers. So they're not entirely out of it. There's a lot of games left, but you can't fall back on the wild card, friends. That's not like it was 10 years ago. So we'll see what happens there with the D-backs, something we'll be following.